Yes, I know it's been a couple of weeks since I put the last video out. I do apologise. I did say to you guys I'll try and do one a week. I haven't had the time. We've been away and Christmas coming up. Anyway, won't bore you with that. One of the biggest reasons I haven't put any videos out on the fabrication of the bike, i.e. the next stage, is because of this thing. Now, this tank wasn't on there last time you saw the bike. Trying to find a tank for this thing has been the bane of my life. Honestly, I've tried so many. I've been borrowing tanks from people I know. I've been back down the breaker's yard, coming backwards and forwards, trying new tanks on. Just not happy. Like I said from day one, if I'm going to do this scrambler and it's going to be right, the lines have to be correct. I can't just stick any old tank on there because it's custom and have done with it. Everything has to, in my mind and in my opinion, flow. The lines have got to be right. This tank, this is a Triumph 1200 tank, and this was actually one of the first tanks I looked at and discarded. I'll tell you why I discarded it in a minute. I'm creating myself a lot of work. However, I've brought it back and I've just placed it on for now. It's not on properly. I have to do a bit of modification on the front tonight. I'm going to cut the lugs off because the front does need to drop down a bit. But come on, that tank, that looks the business. That is absolutely, in my opinion, spot on for the shape of this bike. It's got the perfect flat bottom which I was looking for. And I'm going to tip that up a little bit tonight so it runs up in that sort of line with the rear end. But yeah, I'll show you around the tank in a minute. I'll give you a little view round. But that, come on, I mean, I'm speechless. I don't know why I didn't pick this up in the first place. It's absolutely perfect. It makes the bike look absolutely brilliant. So really pleased with that. Get some work done on this tonight. And now one step closer to having the bike fabricated. And I can get it all stripped down, laid out on the floor, everything painted, and put it all back together. Now let me just show you the tank on the bike before I do anything to it. This is literally me just bringing it home and placing it on. It does need a bit of modification, but if I show you around, you can see from the rear of the bike, the shape on the top there is absolutely perfect. It's got the offset fuel cap, which I love. I think that's a real good scrambler look, so a real bonus point there. I'm not even sure the camera's doing it justice, but you can kind of get a good idea of how that's going to sit on there. Goes over the carbs well. It's just, it really does lend itself to the bike, so really pleased with that. Let me know what you think. But yeah, there's another tank. It's just another one I bought home the other day. It's a bit more of a weird shape. It's an AJS frame tank. Again, didn't like it, didn't look right, didn't have the right feel for it. So I'm going to take the tank off now. It's only placed on there. I've only brought it home and put it on, and I'll show you why it's going to be hard work. Well, I've made hard work for myself anyway. The Honda Hornet, the original tank, has a tap, a standard tap, on, off, reserve, whatever, goes to the carbs, nice and easy. This being the 1200 Triumph tank, unfortunately, is, yeah, you look at the bottom, not only is it rusty inside, I can deal with that, it's fuel injected, there's no tap, so I have to have this tank converted. Now, I'm going to put this as a question to you guys out there, if you've done this before. I know it can be done, but there's obviously different ways it can be done properly. Now, my idea is to have a plate welded, sorry, not welded, a plate made up to cover the fuel pump hole here, and buy a Triumph gasket, the one that you would have put on the fuel pump, and then put the plate on. Hopefully that will seal. I can then have a fuel tap put on this side. There's enough room here on the left-hand side there to have a fuel tap put in, and that's on the lowest part of the tank, so that's good. And then I'm going to have a breather put in the cap as well. Has anyone done this before? Has anyone out there blocked a fuel pump hole to use a tank with a tap? Let me know, because that's what I'm thinking. Whether it's possible, or does it work, or is it problematic, I'll be interested to find out. So the plan is to cut the hole, put a tap in, just so I can use that really gorgeous Triumph tank. Now, to get the tank on the bike, the problem is the mounting points for the tank, they're just slightly too wide, they're slightly too deep. So I'm going to get a grinder in a minute and just take about 5 mil off each one of these. That will then drop that over the frame where it needs to go. And the original lugs for the tank for the Hornet are still on the frame. I'm going to cut those off. I'm going to put them aside because I've still got the rubbers for these, so I may be able to use these again to mount this tank. So just going to quickly whip those off, shave those down, and that way the tank should fit further down on the front, and I can get that line that I want to get the rear end all made up. So let's get those cut off and see if we can get that tank mounted a little bit lower on the front. Coffee always tastes better with metal filings in it. Lovely. All right, so that's the lugs cut off the front from the original tank mounts, save them, and 5mm off the lugs on the tank. So let's place it on, see if I can get it lower at the front than it was. Oh, that's much better. Actually fits right down now. That's better, that's where I want it. There, just above that carb. So I'm going to put a little block in there, cable tie it on, stand back and have a look, and yeah, as long as I'm happy with that, we'll start setting the rear end up. So there you go, that's the bike from a bit of a distance. I can't really go any further back because I've got too many other bikes in here, but that, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but I am so pleased with the shape of that tank and that positioning. It's just got the line I'm looking for, with the little flick on the back, so when I run my rear end it's going to follow that line. Now comes to the rear end really. I mean, this is the most critical part for me, and it's the bit I've been looking forward to the most, and I've got a vision in my mind of how I want this to work out. So what I'm going to do, I've got some timber here, I've got this today. I'm going to make a template using a jigsaw, and I'm going to make the two sides of the rear subframe exactly how I imagine them, clamp them on. I'm going to lay the rear end on. This is the rear plastic that's going to work for the rear tail section, and see if I can get it to work. And if it does, I can then take the two bits of template down to a steel manufacturer, which is just down the road, and hopefully they'll let me take the camera in there and I can show you how they do it. They're going to use a CNC machine and just cut those plates out. I can bring them back and weld them on. So yeah, what I've got in my mind is something like this. Now, a lot of people, when they're doing custom bikes, they'll have a tubular frame that comes round and has a great big seat on it. I want to do something different. I want this bike to be as custom as possible with the budget I've got. So I'm going to make this subframe really as a bit of a one-off, I think. So I'll show you what I mean. What the idea I've got is, so if that's the main frame coming up like that, that's the main frame of the bike. Obviously I've got the shock mount here, I've got the shock coming down there, excuse the drawing, and I've got a little bit of frame left there, which I left to keep the shock mount nice and strong. What I want to do is, now the tank is running at that sort of angle, and like that, I want to create two bits of subframe that I can weld onto the side of the original frame. So I want them to come up like that and almost just go up in a line to follow that line of the tank, and that sort of shape. It'll make more sense when I cut it out. So basically you're going to have two sides of a subframe that look like that, and then I want to have holes drilled in it, just a few holes like that, to give that kind of industrial look. And then my plastics can then just fit on the back like so, and then I'll have a custom seat made in there. And all that part of the subframe that I'm going to fabricate now will be exposed, and it will also hide all this area in here, what I've left to leave the shock mounted. So these will be exposed, and all this whole area underneath, which was before all filled up with plastic and everything else, is going to be exposed. The whole rear wheel is going to be on display, which is going to be amazing when I get that massive knobbly tyre in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the jigsaw out, have a bit of a measure up. I may make a few, because I'm not really sure of the size. I'm making this up as I go along. I just have a vision in my mind. I'm going to make a few up, clamp them on, place the rear end on, and see what it looks like. But yeah, this is the bit I've been really looking forward to. Right, I've got my section of timber here. I've done some measurements. I know I want the main part of the subframe from the bike 500mm long to the rear tail, and I need, I don't know if you can see it on the camera there, but the bike frame, as it drops down, I need 140mm. That's all that I got. The rest is going to be made up and done by hand. So I'm going to put a little sketch on the timber itself. And this is just going to be the first one. The first one's just going to be done. I will then adjust that cut as many times as I need to, and then I'll make 2 decent templates which I can then attach to the bike and see what it looks like. So let's get on with making the first one. Again, it's all by eye, all off the top of my head. Right, let me cut that out, put it on the bike, make some adjustments, then I'll make 2 and I'll clamp them on and we'll see where we are. You may be asking why I'm doing everything in here tonight. It's not much room with the benches and the bikes, but have a look at this. I am not doing anything out there. Absolutely not. It's miserable. So there you have it. That's my mock-up of the rear subframe section. I've cut the 2 pieces of MDF and I'm happy with the shape that I've got. That line here that runs with the tank, and then I've got the flat section for the seat, and then it flicks up, which is what I really wanted. I wanted the tank to run uphill as it does now. So that's got that lovely line there, and I wanted the rear end just to have a nice flick on it, which is perfect. It's exactly what I had in my mind, and it's worked, and I'm not going to change it. I think that's absolutely spot on. I think the angle's really, really good. As like I say, I can't really stand too far back at the moment because I've got the bikes in here, but I have stood at the back of the shed and it does look really, really good. I hope you enjoyed this little episode of me setting up the rear end. Hopefully when you come back, we can go down to the manufacturers and get these made, and you can see my attempt at welding them on. But yeah, until then, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you want to see me in more videos with the Honda Hornet Scrambler project. I'm going to be doing them all over Christmas and into the new year. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you soon. Thanks.